welcome to Orange Cups. I would like to welcome you guys to episode 1 and welcome Coen to the episode here. We have him on the show today to discuss some topics that were recently occurred on a documentary called The Program. If you've seen it, you know what it's about. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you go see it. It's a 3-part series where kids were attending some specialty boarding programs or boarding schools for trouble teens, and I quote that, trouble teens. So welcome, Coen, to the show. I really do appreciate your time and effort today. How do you feel now that everything has been aired and everything's like out and about and you have actual survivors speaking on it, plus yourself?
Yeah, for sure. What's up? So most people that I went to Carolina Springs with would know me as Kara or Romeo, whichever uh they know me as. So uh damn, what was the question? Now you got
No,
me
all good,
fucked up.
man. How do you feel now that everything's like aired out, like the doc,
Okay, so
like
yeah.
you're
I don't know, like for me, I think it was the awareness that it's shown I guess more so parents, right? Because the kids we went through it, so we understand it. But when you try to explain it to somebody that didn't go through one, or even your parents, it's kind of like, probably wasn't that bad, or you're exaggerating. So people don't really understand. So now that it's like film, people can actually like kind of walk through it and go and see it like firsthand, like what we went through, or some of us.
right.
And yeah, I think it's kind of refreshing, to be completely honest.
Do you feel like it's like I told you guys so? Like I told you this was true and no.
I think when I joined the Facebook group, it was more like I told you so, but watching it and like the initial reaction for me was just like, damn, like I'm not crazy, you know what I'm saying? Because like I think when you explain certain things to people, you're like, well, maybe I am, dramatic or exaggerating, or like maybe I didn't really go through that. Like, because especially when you get older, you're like, did it really go like that? You know what I'm saying? But for me, that was my initial response. Like, damn, like I'm not crazy.
Right. I mean, it's validating at the same time. It's like, oh, I told you guys so. When did you join the Facebook group? What year was that?
I actually joined that first year of COVID because before the program, um, Paris Hilton came out with a
Yeah.
documentary, and she was actually sent to one. And then I saw a small little YouTube or clip about Kat Von D also was sent to one. So like when Paris Hilton's documentary came out that year of COVID, um, I think a lot of us started to like kind of feel the emotions that saw that documentary. And then I joined the Facebook group, and then I got in touch with some people. Um, the program actually, I think, opened up the eyes of people that had buried it. Like I've always been somebody that could talk about it, very openly about it. A lot of people pushed it down and kind of like dismissed that they went through it. And I think that this was like, boom, like you did go through it. So yeah.
Yeah. What year were you sent over to Carolina Springs?
For me, it was let's see, September, I believe, '04, and then I got pulled August '05 for my senior year in high school.
So you spent a year there?
Yeah. Mhm.
What?
Or 11 months. I got pulled in 11 months.
Okay. Wow. Almost a year. That's long enough, though, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
What made your parents or your father make that decision that you needed to attend this program?
I think I had just hit 16, and coming from a very strict um household, I started to, I guess, find my voice. Teens start to find their voice a little bit, and press the buttons of what I can say and what I can't say. That was one. So there was already kind of a struggle of maybe who ran the house. I thought I did, and Dad thinks he does. And then it was actually the icing of the cake. I remember the day, like before and pretty perfectly was my dad found liquor bottles in the bottom of one of my drawers, and I took the rap because my one of my friends that I had the liquor bottles from. I hadn't even tried liquor at this point in my life. To be completely honest, it's crazy. But I had the bottles because my friend got beat for like doing dumb shit. And so I was like, "Oh, just give them to me. Like, I'll get rid of them for you." And my dad found them, so he came upstairs and he was like, um, you can either follow the rules of my house or we can look for a boarding school. So, I mean, at the time, lesbian, I'm like, oh, this is the best news ever. Like, all girls school, like, yeah, sign me up. Like, anything's better than living here. That's exactly my words. Anything is better than living here. And then, yeah, that's my reasoning for going.
That's a lot. Just because you were trying to help a friend out, huh?
Oh, I mean, like, stealing his clothes. I used to steal his clothes because, at the time, I'm trying to dress like a boy all the time, and it wasn't quite open in my household like that. So there was like the stealing issue. So that was on top, but the icing of the cake was the whole liquor bottle situation. And I was just like, yeah, they're mine. Yeah, such a heavy drinker.
Yeah. Um, were you dropped off?
Yes. So there were a lot of girls. We got to hear it. Basically, they would be taken from their beds, handcuffed, and brought to the facilities, screaming, kicking, carrying on. But me, I actually was brought. I didn't know I was staying. They tell your parents to specifically tell you that it's just like an interview type thing for the school. So I don't know. I was in my own world, at that time, so I didn't really see that there was only one suitcase. And so yeah, we took a plane. That's because I lived in Virginia to South Carolina. We drove like what seemed like forever. And then we pulled up to like a double wide trailer, and we were greeted by the first lady there, uh, and walked in, and then they took me into a small room, and then they gave my parents the tour of the facility.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so I was dropped off, and then we had like about, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes to say goodbye, and that was that.
How did you feel at that moment? Like, okay, I'm being dropped off at this random building.
Honestly, I think I was like a little confused
Yeah.
just because like I thought I was going for an interview, but I think I was kind of excited at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Because like I was the one that said it the night before, like anything's better than living with my dad, right? So I think I was a little excited because I saw it was all girls, so I was like, oh, I'm in a place of all girls. So I was a little excited. What started, I would say, to like be weird, like right then and there for me was I had like a little wife beater on underneath of the clothes that they gave me, and they were like, no. So then they had like two girls arm in arm take me back to the bathroom and like watch me make sure that I took my boxers off and my wife beater off because you could only wear panties and the yellow the shirt and the shorts that they give you. So that was like weird, like y'all watch me like this? Like, why y'all gotta watch me get dressed? But that's how they do
Was
things.
it only women watching you, or was it a mixture?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was women.
When did you notice that this place wasn't a school, or things were different, or they were doing things that were out of the normal for a regular school to do?
I think for me, was the group sessions. So every day, I believe we had like a family rep. So that was the person that communicated with our parents for us until we got to the appropriate level to speak to our
Hmm.
parents. The one phone call. Um, And so they would have these group sessions, and all the girls would sit around. Family rep would be at the head of it, and then like I don't know, like she would ask questions, and they would stand people up, like random girls, basically whatever girl wasn't following the rules. They would stand them up, and then like they would all kind of like attack them, like like weird, like are you open for feedback? And then they would just like say all these crazy things, and I'm just like, I would observe. And like they used to pick on this one girl. She was there for talking back to her parents. She was 12 years old, the youngest one there. Um, and they used to pick on her, like literally just to get to the next level for them. They had to basically pick on people that were considered non-working or really to themselves or just easy targets, kind of like bullying in school, right? You people would pick on the person that they're least likely to fight back, right? It's kind of the same thing. They would pick and choose the girls that they didn't think was gonna speak up or speak back or not follow the program. And I was just like, at that point, I felt like I don't know, like I had to stick up for people. Like it was weird. I was like, why are we all ganging up on this little girl? She's crying her eyes out. Like we're all like people were like continuing to bash her. Like enough was enough. Like I just so that was one.
Yeah.
And then I would say the seminars. I didn't get to do a lot of the seminars because I refused. Um, and I went to the first one, orientation, and I remember I was there for maybe 10 minutes, and I was like, this is some weird, like, cult shit. And I was like, I don't want to be a part of it. I got kicked out and never went back. They tried to get me to do orientation the next time, and I was like, nope, not doing it. I'd rather sit in worksheets in the building than to do, try to go through those seminars. Like, that was just a worse part of, like, group therapy to me.
The seminars were made to help you pass the program, no?
You had to pass the seminars to level up to certain levels, yeah. So like in order to graduate you would have had to go through all the seminars that they had, yeah.
What's the longest you've seen somebody stuck in there for?
4 years, basically. They're teens, high school
Yeah.
teens. The least amount of time, I think there was a girl there for, it was under a month, so like 2 weeks to a month. She got pulled pretty quick. I think her parents saw that it wasn't what they thought it
Yeah.
was, and pulled her pretty quick. But average was at least probably like what I stayed, about a year, give or take.
Did your parents ever come see you?
They
They
can't.
can't. Do
Mm-mm.
you feel like your parents were manipulated by the program? Like they did not know what was going on, or they did, but they chose not to, you know, be accountable of the things that are going on to you guys?
Um, yes and no. I think my dad was looking more for definitely an outlet to send me to, because he was sent to military school,
Hmm.
right? So I think he was looking for like an equivalent, for a girl, in that nature. The girlfriend at the time, not really sure. To be completely honest, she's a teacher,
Hmm.
so I'm not really sure where her head was. I never spoke to her about it. She's never been open to speaking about it. But for my dad, I think he was manipulated in the sense of like what it actually was, but I think he was definitely looking for like a place to send me away because he just didn't want to deal with it or know how to deal with, me coming into my own.
Were there specific rules and regulations to the things that you could do? Like, as per the documentary, some people weren't allowed to stare out the window or stare at each other or talk to each other, things of that nature.
Yeah, so they briefly like showed the rules in the
Mm.
documentary. That was the same rules. So no matter what program you went to, it was pretty much the same rules were outlined. You couldn't do anything, without permission for the most part. Just give you a brief, quick rundown. Like you wake up, you stand in line. If you don't get up, that's a refusal. Standing in line and talking in line, that's disruptive behavior, I think it was. You got to eat your food. If you didn't eat your food, then it was also some type of, I think, refusal. Uh, you had to ask permission to get up from the table, talk. You could not touch anybody at all. That was automatically, you get in trouble for that. Um, I mean, pretty much anything that you can think is a normal day, like you got in trouble for, if one, you didn't get permission, or two, you weren't on the appropriate level. Like you started off with like crowns, and if you were caught with color pencils, like you got in big trouble for that. Like that was like top of the line. Like you're bad. Um, and then like so when you first get there, you start with 0 points, right? And pretty much it's really hard to gain points there because, like I said, if you look the wrong way, they could, and a staff member didn't like you, they would automatically write you up for something. Um, and Yeah, I mean the rules were definitely different. We had 7 minute showers. That's by the time you take your clothes off, put your clothes on, get out the shower. Um, that if you didn't do that in that time frame, you get in trouble. If you talk in the bathroom, you get in trouble. Yeah, so yeah, like you pretty much get in trouble for everything. Like people in jail have more like freedom than we had in these schools for sure.
Was there physical abuse?
Me personally, the only physical abuse that I personally went through was, so there was a worksheet shed, and then there was an OP, can't remember what it stood for, shed, and that was like the worst of the worst. So when I got sent to OP sometimes for refusing to wear the skirt and the school uniform, they would make me lay out, kind of in the documentary it showed it, the arms out, legs out, and your chin had to stay straight. But if you moved, your time started over. Or male staff got called in a couple times because I just wouldn't stop singing and or put on the uniform. So they would like kneel on me until I conform and with my hands behind my back. It's just the little things like that for me personally. Um, and then like there's a lot of having to spread your arms out on the wall and legs spread, and you had to stand against the wall like that. And if you moved, then your time started over of how long you had to be in there. So that's all I personally went through. I saw a couple girls get the same pretty much restraint. I know that like they would push on me sometimes if I got in trouble, and they would take my bed off the frame and throw it on the ground, and I had to I had to sleep by the desk for doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing. But that's all I personally went through.
That's a lot. That's heavy. It really is. I
Yeah.
know you're laughing about it now, and I know that it took a lot of work to possibly heal from all this trauma. Like, what the hell? I'm in military school at this point. When you finally made it to your 11th month, what made your father pull you out, or what was it that ended the program for you?
I'm pretty sure it was that I got kicked out. They wanted to send me to Jamaica, Tranquility Bay. They talked about that program, which is pretty much one of the worst ones. I hear High Impact was a little bit worse, but between the two, those were the worst programs to be sent to. And so that was a big thing that I got threatened with all the time. If you don't start to follow the rules, you're gonna get sent to Jamaica and you're gonna get beat up and blah blah blah. Um, I think it was really them reaching out to my dad. I had dropped quite a few girls that were upper levels to lower levels again, and it was just continuous non-working behavior. And so my dad had to either send my passport so that they could send me to Jamaica and sign whatever agreement it was, or he had to come get me. So he chose to come get me. I kind of knew because my dad's a Pisces, I'm a Pisces, I believe in all that stuff, and we kind of give signs when we're about to do something. And so like the letters weren't as frequent, but like they were, I would say, more like family oriented, I guess you could say. So I kind of had a feeling it was coming, but I honestly thought I wasn't getting pulled. I thought I was just going to Jamaica, to be completely honest. But that's that's right around the 11th month when I could kind of sense that I was either going to Jamaica or going home.
When you went home, when you finally left the program, what what was the conversation like, or how did you converse with your father about the things that did occur while you were attending the program?
Honestly, I don't think we really talked about it too much. I know that he took me to dinner that day that he picked me up, and I was like, "You guys have no idea what it was like to be there." And I was like, "Cause I like gobbled up my food," and he was like, "You act like you haven't never eaten." And I said, "Real food? No, we haven't." So like it was little things that I would speak about, but I think I don't know. I don't know. I just we didn't have that relationship, I guess you could say. So like it was not asked and it was not told because like I don't trust you, you know? Like you're not somebody that love and I'm close to. So I think for me it was just I'd open up to somebody that I felt comfortable with and that asked me questions and cared enough to ask me questions, I guess you could say. So yeah, we didn't really speak about it to be completely honest.
Have you spoken about it recently, or just that was it and never again?
Yeah, no, me and my dad, we don't speak at all. My grandmother, I would talk about little things here and there with her. So she didn't watch it, but my aunt did. Me and my aunt probably had the second closest relationship in my family, besides my grandmother. And she remembers hearing some of the stories that I would tell her. So she actually called my grandma and was like, I don't know if you should watch it because like it was even hard for me and his uncle to watch. I remember him telling me certain things about that documentary basically confirmed. Um, and I think she really just guided my grandmother into how to have conversations moving forward because my grandma was kind of very dismissal in the sense of, well, did you get raped? Okay, then it wasn't that bad. Did you get beat up? Okay, it wasn't that bad. And I don't think, people that are taught to push down emotions, they don't realize how psychologically damaging a place like that can be, especially when you're pretty much in solitaire, right? How I was in the sheds, not even around the girls that I was supposed to be around. And then you can't touch people, you can't communicate with people, you can't talk to people that you love and you're close with, and for a long period of time, right? So then you get used into immune to that. So when I came back home, I didn't know how to open up because I had like a lot of trust issues. Like I'd open up, but more so in like I keep you at a friend zone. Like even like let's say girls that I would get close to, like very very distancy when it came to certain things, especially when it came to affection, right?
Hmm.
Um and yeah, I think we just some of my family members probably will never understand because they don't even know how to speak about their own emotions. But the ones that do, I think have seen it and been like, I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. Like, I acknowledge that you went through that, and it's not something that we just say let it go. It's something that like I'm glad you were able to work through it. I guess you could say.
Right.
But yeah,
When did you start to notice that you needed to heal from those 11 months?
honestly, it wasn't until COVID, when I saw that Paris Hilton documentary. I never understood why I was shut down and like lock myself in the room for like weeks and months at a time. I could never keep a job because if I felt like authority was too like I guess oppressive, I was like, I fuck you, I don't need you, and I would dip out. And like my family always would talk down to me like, oh, I'm just lazy or oh, like just all these things, and it was like no, like I didn't even realize what it was. I just thought I was just like a very defiant personality, right? And I think it wasn't until I was with my partner that I'm with now, she would like listen to my stories and hear the things that I went through, and she was like you've got some really traumatic experiences that I think you need to go a little deeper in. I think when that documentary came out, I shut down from her too, which I never do, and I think that was like the self-awareness for myself to be like, all right, I got some shit that I gotta understand where it comes from, why I do the things I
Right.
do. So yeah.
How do you take a step to heal from all that? Like, when you noticed that there was something wrong and you shut yourself down, what was the first things that came to mind that you needed to work on, or what is it that pulled you out of the dark place to take that step forward?
Yeah, honestly, I think it was stop smoking weed. I think I used weed for a really long time to kind of like anything that triggered me from a feeling that kind of stemmed from that school. It was easy to smoke and not care. It was easy to go from like feeling really anxious or really mad or sad to like not caring. So I think when I stopped cold turkey, and able was able to relearn how to manage those type of emotions in a productive way and not just pick up a blunt and then become lazy or didn't want to do things or avoid people and think that that was normal. I think that that for me was the first part of the healing. And the second part, I think it was really just acknowledging, right,
Right.
that this happened to me. That it wasn't really something that I deserved, or it wasn't something I deserved. And how do you move forward without thinking that you still deserve that, right? Because I think that so often when you go through such a traumatic experience or constant traumatic experiences, you subconsciously allow it in like a relationship or a friendship or a job. And I think it was really becoming firm in like, what do I want for myself? How do I deserve to be treated? And like stick with those boundaries of this is what I deserve. If I don't feel like I'm getting it, then I don't need it. So yeah.
Have can you say you've stuck to those boundaries now? Like you're like, yeah, that doesn't work for me. No.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me was my grandmother and having to cut her off for a little bit of time until I actually healed through some of my triggers. Um, I think when you're close to people, sometimes the well if you love me phrase, the well do it for me phrase, can be self-sabotaging. And I think it took a long time for me to understand that it's not okay that people say that to you, to be manipulative. And if it's something that you don't feel wholeheartedly or you don't love or doesn't make you feel good, then it's just a no. Like it's not negotiable. Whether that person stays or goes, that's it just is what it is. So I think once I was able to put those boundaries between me and my grandmother when it came to certain conversations, that would make me go backwards, um, that it was easier for everybody else, right? Because it's always hardest to do that with the people that you love the most. So yeah, so now I would say rock solid, and I not that I don't care to lose people, but it doesn't affect me. Like I don't put up with extra stuff to keep somebody that I know is like not treating me or not good for me.
Right. As you should and as you deserve. Do you still stay in contact with girls you attended the school with?
Yeah, so throughout the years, there's a couple of girls that I stood in not like bestie contact, but like very like we know what's going on in each other's lives contact. And then I would say with the documentary coming out, a lot of girls that used to pick on me or call me out or work the program and I was the non-working one. I think they've reached out and said, like that they actually really look up to me about how I chose to do the program, how I chose not to do the program, and that I was very confident in that. And if they could do it over, they would do it like me, refuse the whole time. So I think the hearing that I actually made people's time better, even though that they may not have said it then, they were able to say it now. So it's like, all right, so like I've always been strong-willed. There's just been moments in my life that you know you allow things to happen that probably you shouldn't. But yeah, I definitely keep in contact with a select few that were in my family.
For all the viewers and possible other survivors that are going to be watching this, or hopefully watching this, if they do see this, what would be your message to them?
My message to them would be you don't have to drown your emotions. You're definitely able to feel them. You should feel them, and whatever that looks like to you, uh, you're gonna be your biggest supporter at the end of the day. Sometimes your loved ones are not always your biggest supporters because they don't understand what you're going through, and I think if you allow yourself to feel, um, and you have the right tools and resources, um, to not have to rely on a drug, alcohol, just anything, to suppress it, then you're able to work through it. and to acknowledge that it happened.
Right.
And I think a lot of us are doing that work now.
What type of footprints would you leave on this earth before going? What would be the footprints that you would want to leave on this earth? Like what people would know you for, or love you for, or just be like, before you go, this was who I am, and this is all I went through, and this is what I'm gonna leave behind.
Yeah, so for me, it's always been about transparency, right? I think it's really important to be heard and understood. I think a lot of times people lack that in all areas, jobs, friendships, relationships. So for me personally, the big end goal is to have some books and a center, for troubled teens, right? But more so in the sense of helping them have resources or even a place to stay to build them up to know how to tackle the real world, right? School was there for us, right? But if you don't have that drive for school, then what is there for you, right? And I think that if you teach people to find what they love at a young age, whatever that looks like to them, some people it may be school, but other people it's not, right? And some people are naturally good at drawing. Then they should be drawing and being able to sell that, right? That's why I believe in blockchain technology and things of that nature, because I think it gives kids a more creative path to learn about money and how to manage money, which is super important. And yeah, man, I think it's really just finding a way to take my knowledge and put it into an educational form for kids, especially troubled kids, because I think that those are the people that people have the hardest time to get through to. And you have to find a way to speak to them that they're open to, um, like, damn, I didn't know that, and then want to know more, right? Keep them engaged. So I think that's the biggest goal I'm working on to leave behind for, that people can take on. So yeah.
Do you ever see yourself starting a group that's going to help the troubled youth, since you have so much experience in the past with this situation or this lifestyle?
I think like I said, I think it would be really dope to put, because I'm good with networking,
Right.
right? I wouldn't say that there's a specific thing that I'm great at other than communication now. I've had to learn that throughout the way. But I think being able to bring a lot of people's skills into one place to give not only them the shine, and let them be great at what they're great at, but to use all of those tools and resources to help these kids that, keep them out from doing stuff and getting into stuff. And even if they don't have nowhere to go, right, that they have somewhere to go, that they feel like they can just be themselves until they figure it
Yeah.
out. And I think that's the most important thing, is having a solid foundational place, um, to figure it out at. I think a lot of times people are pushed to do one thing or another, and it's not anything that they want to do or love to do, and then you push them into the wrong things. So yeah, I think it's really just finding and building a place with a bunch of different people's skill sets, to be able to, cater to the needs of these kids.
Through the grapevine, the rumor is that places like these schools or boarding schools that you attended still exist to this day, not working under the original name, but under another name, and still somewhat connected to the same people who originally created the previous schools. What do you say to those parents that are still sending their kids to these programs where they just don't want to deal with the kids and just hand them off and be like, "Hey, fix my kid"?
Yeah. So being a step parent, um, I know parenting is not easy, especially when you have a kid that tries to test every patience, right? I wouldn't say that is a easy job for anybody. However, there's always an underlying issue, right? There's always an underlying reason a kid's acting out, whether it be the lack of attention that you don't even realize that you're not providing, right? Whether it be financial, whether it be a safe space, whatever it is that that kid is searching for or needing, you got to find that underlying root. And I feel like there's a million different techniques, right? You know, there's counseling, there's finding somebody that they do feel comfortable talking to. Friends sometimes, you know, can get through to them in other ways, and just having that clear communication of what's going on in their life, and always making it a safe spot in your house. Because if it's not a safe spot in your house, then they're looking for that safe spot in all the wrong places. I was a kid that did the same, you know, and that can lead you down a worse path than I've gone through. So I just recommend that sending your kid
Yeah.
away, and the root of your kid is, I feel abandoned already by my parents. My parents don't spend enough time with me, and then you send them away. That's just validating everything that they feel anyway. So they're already going to find worse things, you know, more things, just to somebody that makes them feel something, because clearly they're not getting it from you. So I think it's really self-reflection, right? And self-awareness as a parent, to know, you know, what your kid feels for you, what your kid is lacking from you, and having that clear communication and letting your kid express themselves of, this is what I'm not getting, and finding that common ground can prevent a lot of this, one, behavioral problems, and two, that I just given up, right? Nobody should feel like everybody's giving up on them. So yeah, that's what I say.
Where do you think your mental health is today?
My mental health today, I would say is probably pretty much 9.5 out of 10. If we were gonna rate it on a scale, I think now I have, again, I don't use things to suppress feelings that I didn't know how to deal with before. I think it's easy for me to interject when I'm starting to feel bad, right? And go find something that makes me feel good. And I think a lot of the times the things that make people feel good are the things that are not productive and good for you, because you haven't allowed yourself that time to really explore that. You either jump to something, or trying everything in that process of trying everything to numb whatever you're feeling. Um, so for me, I listen to a lot of motivational things. I listen to a lot of people that talk to me tough. Let's say like Gary V, um, um, David Goggins. Um, I can respond to somebody that talks really aggressive, right? That's what I'm used to. So it's something that I can hear a lot easier than somebody that's talking soft spoken. Because if somebody talks too soft to me, then I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, is this a setup? Like, that's an instant reaction, right? So I think it's really just finding uh, how to switch that brain. When your brain starts to fall into depression, acknowledge it, understand it, see it, and move to the solution, right? And I think so often we move to a temporary fix instead of a solution. Um, so yeah, so for me, mental health is good, is really good spot. It took me a long time to get there, but I'm really proud of how I handle things now, just all around relationships, friendships, jobs.
I really do want to thank you for opening up. I know it's probably a lot to bring back. I know it's never easy to bring back those memories or anger or resentment. I'm glad you were able to heal and find your journey. There's a lot of non-healing that doesn't go on in this world, and everybody has their own situation. Everybody has their own story. It could be totally different from the one you're telling today, but it doesn't mean that people can't take the steps to heal from whatever it is that is going on or went on or did go on.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the opportunity, of course. I think it's always important for people to, speak about what they go through, because you never know who is hearing it, and who it can help. Last thing I want to say is, when you go through things in life, don't ever be scared to cut somebody off. And I want to say that goes for family, that goes for friends. I think sometimes because we love people, we use that word love, right, to rekindle situations that we know aren't good for us. So if you already feel, like truthfully feel and see that a relationship, no matter what that looks like to you, is not good for you, it's okay. Like I think the inner you and the outer you deserve to know that it's okay to walk away from that person or that situation.
You heard it here first. Orange Cups Podcast, episode 1. Like, subscribe, comment,